Hi there, I'm Birgit O'Connor and welcome to my studio. Today I'm going to do a short demonstration on how to paint a little white kitty. It was inspired by one of my students and I wanted to show her how I would approach it. So I hope you enjoy it and have some fun. This is the back side of the student grade paper, like that. And her hair, the cat has some wispy hairs out of the ears. So I'm going to find the edge of the ears like that. And I do want to soften some of those hairs, but just not quite yet. And let's see, we're going to go down, maybe let's find a few of those little hairs there. Using mostly the very tip of my brush. Then clean it off. I'm thinking about her pink ears. Let's get that color to move on the surface. Maybe touch a few of them. So of course I'm approaching this a little looser. And the reason why I'm using the looser technique is when I'm doing this, it's a lot more forgiving. Okay, so let's get some of those hairs in. And then now getting down here, let's go into the ears, get some pink. I'm using my cactus pink. I could add a little more yellow into it if I want it to be a bit more flesh tone, something like that. And let's add a little, just a tiny bit in there. If I leave it that way, it's going to look wild. So I'm going to go ahead and soften a few of those edges. And I don't want it to get too carried away, so I'm going to soften a few of those. But I'm thinking about taking advantage of that really wet look. Okay, and then I can flatten it like that, trying to get some of those tones. Bring it down around this eye. And I'm using the same background color, basically. Bring it down here to the nose and just under the eye. I'm leaving the eye alone for right now because that's always the important thing. I'm just letting the very, very tip touch the paper. Soften a few of those edges. I need to pull those hairs out up there later. Soften. Bring this down and go around the little mouth. And of course I have my little hair that I wanted to keep in there, but I just painted right over them. So maybe I should have thought about that. But again, I would not normally not think about it. So I'm going to find those whiskers, at least some of them. I could use my flat brush, or what I'm doing here is just using the same brush, just continuing with it. And let's see, I'm thinking we have more shadow on this side. I was trying to decide, do I want to scoop up or scoop away? Let's get that, a few of those little whiskers in there. And of course, you can always get more detailed. Okay, so I'm getting closer to what I'm thinking about, and what do I want to focus on are those whiskers. So I'm going to soften that up a little bit there. And then going up to those eyes. Let's get some color right there, just a tiny bit. And I'm going to try to go underneath that eye just a little bit. Because, and holding my brush a little higher up here, that way I don't get too caught up in drawing it on, because that's where we run into trouble. And I'm thinking about this area over here. We need a little more detail right through there. And then I want to get those eyes in. I would like to come back in with another layer, but this is basically the essence of what I'm trying to get. She's got those really amber eyes, so I need to get an amber color. I'm going to go into my yellow. And let's see, I think I'll take quinacridone, or not quinacridone, this is the permanent alizarin crimson, like that. Now this is still wet right there, so I'm going to try to just lift the color out so we can at least get to it. And then I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to hold my brush a little higher up the handle. It'd be good if I had a brush that had a good tip to it, which this one I've really worn down. Let's go ahead and get that in there. And then let's do it on this side. Let's go ahead and try to get this in. Hopefully it's not going to bleed too much. And then the eyes, it just needs a little more fine tuning and detail. And let's see, take this and go along the edge. But hopefully that gives enough to get an idea of how to think of it, maybe another approach to it. I'd come back in, add more detail and depth. Oh, let's get the little pink nose in here. And then put the little detail. It just needs a more. This is just a beginning. Let's go ahead. Now this might be a little too dark, so I might, how about if I bring a little bit of our magenta, or the magenta into it. Let's take a look. And let's see, what do we have down here? That purple's a little too purple for me. And if I put it there, then I need to incorporate it into other areas too. And I think that maybe, let's see, we could bring some hair out a little further. We could always scratch things out with a pen if you want to. Let's try to bring a little bit of that color down here. What I'm thinking about is, where are my dry edges in here? Can I get any whiskers or things, whatever I need up there? So just curious on what's happening. So I'll just put it in. So this is about the third layer that I'm coming around with. And then maybe soften a tiny bit. I'm trying to pull out those whites a tiny bit too. I don't want it to be such a ring around there, so I'll soften. And the same thing over here. I'm trying to use just the very, very tip of my brush. Okay, I think we'll call that good.